From the moment Brandy decided to publish her memoir, the biggest surprise was that the world would finally hear the full story of her relationship with Wanya Morris, a relationship that began when she was just 16 years old. For years, media and fans tried to piece together what really happened between them, but the truth remained hidden behind conflicting statements and long periods of silence. In her memoir, Brandy admits that the relationship wasn't as innocent as many believed, and that Wanya took advantage of her position as a teenage fan and a rising star in the music industry. These revelations weren't just about exposing a past relationship, but about explaining what it felt like to be pulled into a situation she couldn't fully control, under immense personal and professional pressure from a very young age. With all of this coming to light, the central question emerges: who is truly responsible for everything that happened? Brandy herself, Wanya Morris, or Sonya Norwood, her mother and manager? The debate is wide open, and the details that follow only deepen the mystery rather than simplify it. The story begins as something that seemed harmless on the surface, a friendship. Brandy describes the early stage of her connection with Wanya as mentorship rather than romance. He reached out to her multiple times, gradually becoming someone she trusted, someone she could rely on for advice in both her personal life and her growing career. At the same time, he showed a level of attention that made her feel special, seen, and valued in a way that blurred the boundaries between professional guidance and personal attachment. Over time, this dynamic shifted. What started as a mentor-mentee relationship slowly evolved into something more emotionally complex, eventually becoming romantic in nature despite her young age. In her own words, she felt like she was being carried along by a current she couldn't resist or fully understand. To keep the relationship hidden, she lied to her parents and lived under constant fear of exposure, knowing that if the truth came out, it could create a major scandal and potentially damage both of their careers. This part of the story highlights the internal conflict she experienced, torn between her emotions and her awareness that something about the situation was not right. The age difference between Brandy and Wanya was not just a number, it represented a significant imbalance in maturity, experience, and influence. Wanya was in his early 20s, already established in the industry, while Brandy was still a teenager navigating fame for the first time. This created a dynamic where one person held more control, awareness, and authority over the other. In her memoir, Brandy suggests that her admiration for Wanya was gradually transformed into emotional dependence as he positioned himself as both a confidant and an anchor in her life. Every interaction carried a mix of comfort and confusion, making it difficult for her to fully understand the nature of what was developing. The imbalance made it easier for her to be influenced and harder for her to question the situation. Looking back, the relationship appears less like a mutual connection and more like one shaped by unequal levels of power and emotional maturity, which raises serious concerns about how such dynamics can affect someone at such a young and vulnerable stage of life. Adding another layer of complexity to the story is the involvement of Sonya Norwood, Brandy's mother and manager. Instead of being a passive observer, there are indications that she played an active role in shaping Brandy's early career and connections, including introducing her to Wanya. From the beginning, she had control over Brandy's professional path and was aware of the people she interacted with. This raises difficult questions about responsibility. Was she simply supporting her daughter's career, or did her involvement unintentionally create an environment where boundaries were blurred? Some interpretations suggest that she may have approved or at least been aware of the relationship dynamics, while others argue that she prioritized Brandy's career image over her personal well-being. The situation becomes even more complicated when considering how much influence she had over Brandy's decisions during that time. This creates a gray area where accountability is not easily assigned to a single individual, but instead distributed across multiple people involved in shaping Brandy's life. While Brandy presents one perspective, Wanya offers a very different account of the same relationship. According to him, the relationship only began after Brandy reached adulthood, and he describes their connection as natural and consensual. He also claims that Brandy's mother was fully aware of their interactions and even supportive of them. This conflicting narrative creates tension and confusion, as both sides present fundamentally different timelines and interpretations of events. From Wanya's perspective, there was no wrongdoing, while from Brandy's perspective, the relationship began earlier and carried emotional consequences that she only fully understood years later. This contradiction forces viewers to question which version aligns more closely with reality. In situations like this, truth is often not clear-cut, and the audience is left to interpret the available information, weighing both accounts and considering the broader context surrounding the individuals involved. The story extends beyond just Brandy and Wanya. Wanya's later behavior in other relationships, including his involvement with Adina Howard, contributes to the perception of a pattern of infidelity and inconsistency. These incidents suggest that his personal conduct was not limited to a single relationship, but rather part of a broader behavioral trend. For Brandy, experiencing this at such a young age added another layer of emotional complexity. She was dealing not only with the challenges of growing up in the spotlight, but also with betrayal and instability in her personal relationships. This context shapes how viewers interpret the original relationship, as it paints a picture of someone whose actions were not isolated, but repeated over time. It also reinforces the idea that the environment she was in exposed her to situations that were difficult to navigate without guidance or protection. Beyond relationships, Brandy was also dealing with the overwhelming pressure of fame at a very young age. The expectations placed on her to maintain a perfect image had a significant impact on her mental and physical health. She has spoken about struggling with disordered eating behaviors, driven by the desire to meet industry standards and public expectations. This included extreme weight control habits and constant self-monitoring. The pressure to remain in the public eye as a flawless figure created an environment where her well-being took a back seat to her image. Even when she appeared successful from the outside, internally she was dealing with stress, anxiety, and a lack of balance in her life. This contrast between public perception and private reality highlights how fame can mask deeper struggles, especially for someone who is still developing emotionally and psychologically. Brandy's career was also marked by various conflicts with other artists, which further complicated her public image. Reports and discussions over the years have linked her to tensions with figures like Monica, Aaliyah, and Countess Vaughn. Some of these disputes were amplified by media coverage, while others were influenced by personal dynamics and external pressures. For example, the rivalry with Monica became widely known after an incident during rehearsals in the late 1990s, which later gained more clarity years afterward when both artists acknowledged past tensions. Additionally, disagreements involving Countess Vaughn and perceptions shaped by family influence contributed to ongoing friction. These conflicts show that Brandy's environment was not isolated but highly competitive, where relationships could quickly become strained due to ambition, perception, and external influence. With the release of Brandy's memoir, public interest in her past has been reignited. People are now revisiting old narratives and comparing them with her new disclosures. Some view her as someone finally speaking her truth after years of silence, while others question the accuracy of her account and the roles played by others involved. Media personalities and commentators have also contributed to the discussion, offering their own interpretations of events. This has turned the story into a broader conversation about accountability, influence, and how past relationships should be judged through a modern lens. The renewed attention shows how a single memoir can reshape public perception and reopen debates that many thought were already settled. In the end, the story doesn't lead to a simple conclusion. Instead, it raises more questions than answers. Was Brandy a victim of circumstances shaped by industry pressure, family decisions, and an imbalanced relationship? Or was responsibility shared among multiple individuals, each contributing in different ways to the outcome? Her memoir reveals a complex mix of emotions, experiences, and contradictions that reflect not just her personal journey, but also the environment she grew up in. What remains clear is that her story is not just about one relationship, but about the broader challenges of growing up in the spotlight under constant scrutiny. And ultimately, it leaves the audience with a lingering question. How much of someone's past is shaped by their own choices, and how much is shaped by the people and systems around them?